Hello and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood and you are listening to our review of UFC 292, which was headlined by Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley for the Bantamweight title, with a co-main event of Zhang Weili versus Amanda Lemos for the women's strawweight title. As per usual, I am joined by my regular co-host Tom Ballerman. Tom, Saturday night, we saw something majestic. We saw something which is so rare in sport. In combat sport, a star was born. Sean O'Malley is the biggest star in the UFC right now, and bloody hell was that spectacular.
Yeah, he's certainly the fastest rising, the star that's burning brightest, and it was a bit of a supernova on Saturday
Yes.
night. I mean, my God, I don't think he could have asked for more. Passed every test. Made an absolute mockery of my pre-fight preview. And, what a moment for that young man.
It was quite something. And listeners, we're going to go straight into that main event. Sean O'Malley is your new Bantamweight champion. Some people's dreams and nightmares have become a reality. O'Malley is the champ at 135. He wins by TKO in round 2, 50 seconds into the second round. And overall, the performance, that was about as good as it's going to get from Sean O'Malley against Aljamain Sterling, for which there are questions to be made for both men coming out of this fight. But to me, O'Malley was just sublime. I thought that was an absolutely perfect Sean O'Malley performance, summed up by that finish. We'll get into the finer details of that finish in a moment, but overall, Tom, what do you grade that man for that performance?
Yeah, of course you have to take the challenge that's put in front of you, and that challenge may be great or small. It may be magnified or minimized by various factors. And so we really just have to look at O'Malley. It's got to be a 10 out of 10 A-star performance. The big question going in,
Not an A-star for me.
Not an A-star, okay. Clean knockout and no damage taken. Joe's not happy.
Okay.
Let's hear it, Joe.
Okay, so for me, an A-star performance, this is an A-star performance, is Volkanovski versus Holloway 3, Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez, where clean performance, take no damage, and you absolutely whoop the opposition. Like, they just are absolutely bamboozled from second one. Now, I will say, I thought Sterling was in a lot of trouble from round 1 when you saw him backing up against the fence. Like, he was right up against that fence at points, Tom. Like, it was shocking.
Yeah, can we start to look at Aljamain Sterling already, or are we done praising O'Malley?
No, that's praising O'Malley.
For me, I agree with you. You can really put a marker down as Volkanovski did against Holloway. There are still questions. Could Sterling beat O'Malley in a future fight? Yeah, I don't think we saw enough on Saturday to think that he couldn't. Can Max Holloway beat Volkanovski? No, never.
No,
that's definitively answered. So I get what you're saying, but when you are a flashy young talent with a stunning highlight reel of knockouts coming into your big test, the brightest of lights, I would say absorbing precisely no damage and knocking out the man who many are calling the GOAT of the bantamweight in the UFC. I don't think it gets better. So, yeah, whilst I acknowledge what you're saying, it's not that kind of... He's not put the marker down. He's just continued in the trajectory he was going. He hasn't fallen under this hurdle. And I think he's got to be ecstatic about that. He did say himself, Joe, going in, that Aljamain was a big problem for him. A big problem. He's never been more nervous. And actually, don't know if you know this, Joe, but O'Malley was carrying, I think, a muscle strain between the ribs going into the fight. He wasn't grappling. And so, he was nervous. He would have pulled out unless it was a title fight. And he really made the right decision because he delivered. My God.
Yeah, truly. We'll go into it starting in round 1, where not a huge amount happened. You could start to hear some murmurings in the crowd of booing. There was a bit of, which was, all right, it's round 1 of a title fight. Give him a second, lads. And it was bizarre because you just saw like O'Malley throwing out the low kicks, sort of feinting the hands a little bit, feinting a bit, and then Sterling reacting in a massive way, just falling further and further back up against the cage. And then eventually he started to throw leg kicks, started to throw body kicks from there, start to push O'Malley back. And in like the last 30 seconds around, clinched O'Malley up against the cage, went for the takedown, grabbed the leg, lifted it up. You're like, oh, okay, here we go. Sean O'Malley's going for the ride, brother, and just stayed bouncing on one foot, stuffed it a little bit, got some punches absorbed, nothing major. But, it won Aljamain the round, I would say, that little flurry at the end.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was giving it to O'Malley based on kind of octagon control.
Agreed.
Yeah, up until that last 20 second. I wouldn't even call it a blitz, but where Sterling got a clinch, pressed O'Malley against the cage, and as you say, got a couple of strikes on. Nothing that Sean O'Malley will be feeling today. But O'Malley said that it was a 10 out of 10 round for him. The big thing was avoiding the takedowns. There was nothing close to a takedown, aside from that slight moment at the end that you're mentioning. And it was a very curious round. And as you say, it really signified that Aljamain was in trouble. When he started the round, he was really actively trying to switch stances with O'Malley. Yeah. Much as Pedro Munhoz did, and of course did have some success doing that. He was less vigorous in doing so as the round progressed. I think he was getting tired of trying to match O'Malley up and reading so much into all those clinches, as you say, Joe. Do you think Aljamain gave Sean too much respect? Do you think Aljamain was worried about getting knocked out?
Yeah, he was. I think he was. I think he wanted to press the action whilst still maintaining a level of safety. And you saw that in the movements, which was that like O'Malley, like there were moments where Aljamain's just like he started to press into him and started to like force the action, force some movements. I mean, no clear strikes were getting off apart from like a couple mid kicks. But you could start to see Aljamain was, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like he wanted to like harry him a little bit, like see, okay, what's he doing in his movement? But Sean was moving side to side fine. Wasn't really. Oh,
he was great.
Yeah, it was great.
His movement was great. Yeah,
it was great.
No, it totally flummoxed Sterling. Once you mixed in those feints with the movement, he was just getting out the side. Aljamain was getting tired of matching him up in the stance switching. And before you know it, as you say, O'Malley was the one taking the centre of the cage and pressing the action.
Which is something you do not want. You do not want to have, you don't want the vision to be O'Malley flicking kicks out to you at the end of his jab and there's a load of space behind him. Because if you see that against Sean O'Malley, I think you're in a lot of trouble. You are in a lot of trouble. And Aljamain was in trouble in that aspect. Not in terms of damage at that stage, but just in terms of taking control of the fight, because it was slipping a little bit from him. And I only felt that he was in control at that moment. At the end, when he got the clinch, got some strikes off and sort of took the round with the sort of like, as you say, not a blitz, but kind of like a pulse, if you will. You know what I mean? Like it kind of beats, into life for a moment. Took it. Okay, I can move on into the second round from there. Is there anything else from the first that's kind of stood out to you that you want to continue digging into?
No, I think you summarised it there. Other than just kind of examining a little bit more what was going on really in Sterling's mind. I mean, he's been accused of coming out too hot in the past.
I didn't get that at all in this.
No, well, that's certainly no danger of that.
No.
So I just maybe a little bit more of a exploration as to, what I'm thinking, Joe, basically, is I'm thinking about Brad Tavares. I don't like it, but I'm doing it. And I just don't see Merab coming out like that in a first round, like ever against anyone.
No, he would want to set the stall out and say, "This is my fight."
And Aljamain Sterling is the champ. Finally, he's getting the credit he deserves in terms of what he's achieved in the sport. He fights a guy who's not been tested in Aljamain's key strength. And he's unable to employ any of his own game plan. It's quite bewildering. It
was bizarre at points. It was really, really odd to see. It did feel like at points like, oh, he's fallen into Sean's trap here. Like he's fallen for it.
Well, he was so worried about kind of Sean's offense and matching it with his own defense, and that's not just in terms of taking a defensive approach to strikes, but also in the stance switching, as we mentioned. That he just lost himself in there, Joe, and I just don't understand that. I just don't. You just go and beat Henry Cejudo, you know. And
I know what you mean.
Perform like that.
How do you not take the confidence from that Cejudo win? You know, a decisive victory in my mind over Cejudo, and not have that. And then I look at the other contenders at bantamweight, and I don't feel like they would do the same thing. I don't think Merab would do that. I don't think Corey Sandhagen would do that. I don't think. I mean, he's not a contender yet, but Nurmagomedov would not do that. He would implement his game against this guy, and it's odd. Yeah, it's odd to see a champion that tentative, like, and not be willing. It almost seemed like he didn't have a game plan. It's almost like, I'll see what he's doing and then I'll figure it out from there, it was odd.
Well, when we know the importance of a takedown in that first round, you know, the effect that then has on O'Malley, on his kind of freedom of movement, his freedom of expression, rather than just focusing on the key tenets of his own game, which he was really able to settle into. But, sorry, Joe.
I mean, he threw one spin kick to the body, O'Malley, in that round. It was like, okay, is he starting to go there? And when he threw it, I was a bit like, you know, dangerous. But maybe it wasn't that dangerous. Maybe he realised it wasn't that dangerous.
No, I think Sterling I really think he opened the map for him. I think he just, you know, very strange. But Aljamain came out in the second round, clearly trying to exercise that demon. Came out with a bit more urgency, Joe. Walk us through it.
He got the clinch, started to go for the takedown, and I actually said out loud, oh, here we go. Here we go. Sean's going for the ride. He's in trouble now. And then just wrestled his way out of it. Broke the hands, broke the link, fished for the underhook, lift him up, make sure he couldn't get down to his legs, turned him, separated, and off they went. Like, they separated from there, and you're like, man, maybe O'Malley's on it, maybe Sterling's not there. And then we get to this sequence that, I mean, is this going to become an iconic moment where O'Malley throws the left body kick, switches stance on the way back. Sterling's like, I've got to get that back. Lunges with this jab. O'Malley pulls.
It was a straight left, wasn't it, Joe?
Whatever it was. It was desperate. Like he threw this long left hand down from low, head low, throws his left hand, comes up, and O'Malley pulls back, touches the left hand with his right, feels the movement of where he's going, feels the length, just leans out just enough, and then cocks the right hand, blasts Sterling to the temple. Down he goes face first. And I was like, I mean, you know, I yelped at this visual of like, oh my God. Like, oh my God, he's knocked him down. And then the ground and pound stood over Sterling. Didn't dive in for the ground and pound, stood over him, grabbed the leg with the left hand to control Sterling's leg so he couldn't up kick so he could also feel his movement of which way he's turning so he could turn with him, make sure he couldn't get away from him, and delivered some absolutely accurate and superb ground and pound. At least another 5 or 6 shots that were like flush. You know, Sterling starts to turn, couple more shots land, and Mark Goddard steps in for the finish via ground and pound TKO. Sean O'Malley is the champ, and it was a superb finish. I love the finish so much. The whole sequence, it's magic.
Yeah, it is. No, it's certainly a welcome addition to his highlight reel. You know, I actually, for me, on watching it live, I didn't see quite what O'Malley caught him with. It was a bit frenetic, as you say. They kind of broke from the clinch. Sterling was coming wading forward. It was only when I got to see in the first of all, I had no questions about the stoppage. Let me just get that.
Oh yeah, I don't get the people
I didn't need to see that again, Joe.
No,
didn't need to see that part again because there were a few times where it was a club and hammer fist. Sterling's head bouncing off the back of the cage, his arms kind of still responding to his brain, but certainly not in a manner that I would call intelligent defence.
No.
And by the time Sterling's rolled over to his to his front. That not in a way like, oh, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna grab a leg and work my way back to my feet. More like I don't want to get punched in the face anymore.
Yeah. I need protection.
No questions about the stoppage. And so the question for me then was, well, how do we get there? And seeing that replay, it's absolutely beautiful. We got straight away, the UFC had it queued up, 3 replays, all the angles. I think the promotional package was already put together as well. It was on the YouTube probably 1 minute later, the full fight.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, it was just absolutely beautiful. As you say, just stepping slightly out of range.
Yeah.
And O'Malley highlighted this. His ability to punch going backwards, to adapt, having seen Sterling's punch fall short and counter like that, right cross, so crisp, so little behind it, but so much at the same time. And as Aljamain just goes face forwards down, that is the birth of a superstar. That is, that's what we love.
Well, and also I'm just watching it again here. What's really interesting is O'Malley's left hand is out. And so he basically gives a pathway for Sterling's left straight. And it is a left straight that's coming down. Baited him, pulled him back. The left hand comes through. His right hand touches the elbow. He feels the full extension. Drops the hand back down again, the right hand. Pulls it up, cocks it. And Sterling can see it coming. He flinches before it hits. But it's too much, man. Down he goes like a sack of spuds. It was absolutely superb. I'm just watching it again. Just the hand is fully extended and it just... comes crunching over. That is... yes. My word.
It really is. It's picture perfect.
It is. It is a perfect finish. The comparisons to the Aldo McGregor one is... Maybe it's not quite to that level of, I can't believe what I've just seen. But it was more like, just respect the technique there. That is just fantastic. Fantastic. Great performance, Tom. Now let's talk about the post-fight, shall we? Sean O'Malley calls his shot of Marlon Cheeto Vera, I should say. I can see you're wincing already, as am I. Thanks but no thanks to that idea?
I mean, I don't know. There are aspects of O'Malley that I warm to at a certain stage, like the acknowledgement of the nerves, the magnitude of the moment, kind of getting to him a bit, and whenever you get an iconic, person who people connect with, even if you don't like that person, it's nice to get swept up in it for a moment. Cheeto Vera, the fight's been out there for a long time. I don't hate it. It's like the kind of no surprise in that call out. I don't want to see the rematch. Sterling hasn't got an instant rematch for me.
Oh, no. Sterling trying to angle for that. I was just like, I'm not having that, bro.
Well, I thought, hold on. I do want to take a moment here to give a bit of credit to Aljo, because he was truly magnanimous in defeat.
His line of, if he could do that to me, what God knows what Volkanovski would do, is that is a great moment of humility.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved that.
Yeah.
I really, because of course these are proud men. These are at the top, tops of their division. These are at the pinnacle. And to recognise that, okay, this is just a foothill and Mount Everest, Alexander Volkanovski is all the way up there in the clouds and I'm not there. Having been a champ, that really takes, as you say, huge humility. So,
I mean, think about what we've seen. These were two guys fighting for a belt in their pants in a cage, yeah? That's what we're watching. We're watching two men fight in their underwear. And for him to then afterwards, after losing very clearly, almost to not quite in a meme way where he could get mocked for it, where it's more everyone's praising O'Malley for the skill. Whoever's mocking him for losing it like that, be humble there, brother, because the worst would happen to you. And for him to then say, that dude would kill me. That's amazing.
I don't know how much weight that argument carries, and always, it's not something I really take much heed of when I read it online, that you have no right to comment because this man would kill you. Yes,
no.
With the proviso that, the former bantamweight champion of the world would smash me up.
I'm not saying
put it out there before I say anything.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that he's put himself out there in a way that many people never will, and has shown humility. That's
100%.
what I would say.
100%. However, he did get caught, in like the most predictable way. Like overreaching on a shot. Exactly. Leaning in with his left hand, getting caught by that cross. It's, Sterling played his part in that. He will not like to see that going back. Falling short on his strike and getting clocked like that as he steps in. Naked, Joe. Nah.
Now, let's talk about a couple things here. Let's talk about Sterling. 145, I assume, is next. I don't like his chances up there, man. I do not like his chances. I didn't like his chances against Volkanovski in the first place. I definitely don't like him now. I don't like his chances against Max Holloway. I don't like his chances against Ilia Topuria. If I'm Aljamain Sterling and if I go up to 145, I'm taking some very selective matchmaking. Should he face like a Bryce Mitchell? He could beat Bryce Mitchell, maybe. I don't know.
If I'm putting O'Malley up there, if I'm putting Sterling up there at featherweight, I'm putting him top 5. I think he's got to be fighting the likes of Arnold Allen, Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, Lord not Josh Emmett, but Calvin Kattar. I think anything other than that would just be ridiculous. There's nobody else with any profile below them either. I
think he's in that spot. Remember when RDA lost to Eddie Alvarez and he went up to 170? And RDA, I think he won 4 in a row, and he won 4 quite convincingly to get an interim title shot against Colby Covington. I think Sterling's in that spot now of like, he's got to put a run together at 145 to get close to a title shot.
Does he have to go up?
Yeah.
Because of all the talk, and because of course the what he puts himself through to keep that cut going. I mean, I think it's like
and Merab.
Yeah. So is that the deal then? Like, as soon as I lose, it's all yours? I think Merab, the path is cleared for him to get a title shot before Sterling.
Yeah.
If I'm just, like, let's say if I'm managing their camp. God, no, that means I'm Matt Serra or Ray Longo. But, things have gone wrong. But, like, I'm saying, Merab gets the next shot. It doesn't matter in what circumstance or against who it is. You can't fight for the belt again. Obviously, if Merab fails to take that chance, then Aljamain Sterling is right there again. He only, he can take a bit of time away, fight one fight just to keep his position. Fight someone struggling for any. Wow, I mean that would just absolutely. Seal a title shot for me if he beat Nurmagomedov. He's straight in again. Yeah,
same goes for Nurmagomedov, by the way. If he wins,
yes, I mean it can be. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. For me, Aljamain Sterling beating Nurmagomedov, it has to be.
Yes, I'd say that's fair because he fought so far there in the rankings that.
So how long can O'Malley avoid Merab Dvalishvili?
Here's my prediction: is that he'll never fight him. And actually, I'm going to say this: if he does actually fight him, I favour O'Malley.
Oh my God! What?
Yeah, I think he knocks him out in 1 round.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I'm calling it now. And actually, here's my bold prediction here, Tom. I don't think O'Malley has that many fights left in his body. I think he's quite physically messed up. Remember the foot break against Sukhumtar? He had another year-long injury. He's had 2 failed drug tests. He's had a hip replacement at the age of 25. Badly injured going into this. Couldn't grapple. I think it's Marlon Vera. I then think it's going to be, if Volkanovski hangs around, Volkanovski. And if I'm Volkanovski, I'm hanging around at 145 for that one. Because, brother, that is some easy work for you. Like, he would be taking him out back and giving him a good old whooping right there if he fought Sean O'Malley. And then hope to God that Corey Sandhagen's there. I think Sandhagen's probably the most difficult guy for him, actually, in my opinion. In the top. I know you're shaking your head at me, man, but I see these things. They call me Mystic Joe for a reason. I nailed it. Let's not just say I called it. I nailed it. I nailed it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I can't take it away from you, but I'm not going to check that that reality. I'll let this sink in a little bit first. I'll let you come to your senses, and we'll talk about these things properly as adults when the time comes.
You think Merab beats Sean O'Malley?
Yeah, I picked Merab to beat Sean. Yeah.
Do you think Corey Sandhagen beats Sean?
I think Merab's a bigger test than Sandhagen.
Interesting.
I think Merab versus Sandhagen's a very, very intriguing fight.
Oh, those two will fight before they fight Sean O'Malley. Like, that's next. Like, he'll fight Vera, and it's like, well, what Merab and Sandhagen do? Just they'll have to fight each other. And I actually think that's a great matchup. Like, I would love to see that. Like, really, really love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I would also like to see Cejudo versus
O'Malley.
Well, versus O'Malley, yeah, yes. And I'd like to see Cejudo versus Merab. So, it stays right at the top. It's good for the division.
My God.
This win is good for the division.
Midnight Saturday night, Cejudo calls Dana White. Dana, give me Pedro Munhoz. Yeah, get me back in there. Give me Don Cruz again. Like, he wants any fight so he can get to O'Malley. I don't know if he beats O'Malley. That's another one where I'm a bit like, I don't know.
Well, if you can come out and say something silly like he knocks out Merab in one round,
he does.
Well, why doesn't he do that to Cejudo? Why is it? Of course, different styles.
I think he probably would knock out Cejudo.
Oh my God! All right, let's move on to the co-main.
Why are you so against this talk? Why are you so against this talk?
I just think, like, he got the whole thing. He got the mirror shown up to his face by Sterling. That was a quote from him. I'm going to show him. His worst nightmares. I'm going to show him where he falls flat. He didn't do it, Joe. He didn't implement his game. O'Malley still hasn't beat a wrestler. I don't know what that performance was from Sterling.
He beat a wrestler. Thank you.
Joe,
right.
That is not the performance of a pressure wrestler.
Zhang Weili defeats Amanda Lemos.
Merab does not give him that fight. Merab does not fight like that. Merab pumps himself on the EPO.
Charges
pumps
in.
himself... Yeah, like
charges
90% EPA.
Charges in against a taller fighter with greater reach, with better movement than Petr Yan. Petr Yan is a very static fighter.
No.
He's a very static fighter.
He dips down in the way he did against Petr Yan. Dips down, grabs a knee, works his way up. Yeah, of course he does. He does.
Anyway, Zhang Weili, my word. This was a pure beatdown. Against Amanda Lemos. What were the scores on this? Was there a 50-40 or something crazy in there? Like, was there a 43 or a 42? Like, she absolutely murdered her. Like, and it wasn't even close. Terrible strike differential, over 200 strikes in favour of Zhang Weili. A record-breaking performance from Weili. Amanda Lemos, tough as an old boot. Fair play to her, but there was just nothing there for Zhang Weili, and it kind of feels like a bit of a wasted defence in some aspects, but also a great defence to sell Zhang Weili to people of like, look at this absolute monster. Who the hell can beat her apart from Rose Namajunas? And even in that second one was debatable, but still, Zhang Weili, man, love her, absolutely love her.
Yeah, you captured it, Joe. You captured it. I've got a confession to make though.
You didn't watch it?
I watched parts of it. It was one-way traffic. It was obvious where it was going. The only question was whether,
Lemos could see it.
Lemos would tap. Yeah, or whether she would tap to strikes, or So, yeah. I mean, it was a bruising, brutalizing, dominant display. I don't know how well that translates into Weili becoming, the Sean O'Malley of women's strawweight.
I mean, I love watching her, and I'm excited to see what's next.
You enjoyed that? You enjoyed that?
Oh, I enjoyed every second of it.
All
that
right.
was that knockdown.
If we have any
that knockdown in the fifth was brilliant.
Criminal profilers amongst our listenership, what do you make of this man?
What do you mean? What you think? Like I'm into like weird BDSM or abusing women? Is that what you're implying?
I'm just saying that it just wasn't that much in it. Like there wasn't it couldn't change that fight. I mean, Lemos didn't even have a puncher's chance.
Yeah, but then you just have to respect the greatness. I mean, Cejudo's made a monster.
Lemos shouldn't have been in there. She should have been in there with her.
No,
that was like, I didn't love watching Volkanovski put the work on Korean Zombie.
No,
that wasn't like a great pleasure of mine.
No,
but
for me, I really hated it in a way. But yes.
So, yeah, great performance. Find someone for it to fight, Joe. You know, Tatiana Suarez.
Yan Xiaonan. That's what's next. That's what should be next. I'm well into that.
All right.
I'm well into that. Right.
Unify. One China.
Yes, exactly. Now, Tom, let's talk about this matchup. Ian Garry versus Neil Magny. It got very spicy after we did our preview pod. We missed all this about the child abuse stuff, and Ian Garry seemed to take that stuff very personally. Yeah, it was odd, wasn't it? I think it's Garry just trying to hype the fight and create an angle. Or is he just really stupid? Like, I don't...
There's something going on.
There is something up with him.
Yeah.
We're not going to make any comments about the wife again, but like that's like we've trod on that ground. I'm not going to say anything more there.
No, but I think that's all part of it, Joe. You know, all right, we won't say more, but it does feed into the pack. There's something going on. Is it banter? Is that?
What do you mean bants?
Was it banter?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait, who's doing the banter? Garry or Magny?
Garry.
Wait, you think that was banter?
Is it what? It's like. Do you think it was truly heartfelt what he was saying?
It's either heartfelt and he's a moron, or he's trying to work an angle so that people
would also make him a moron, would it not?
It worked though. Like, people were talking about the build up and like
but they weren't like oh yeah, you know, Ian Garry on his crusade to protect children from Neil Magny and his disciplinary ways.
I mean, the jokes of Neil Magny clinching his kids up against the fence for 15 minutes was like, those did make me laugh, but like,
all right, put
anyway,
that down.
Should we talk about
criminal profilers? Add another one to the list.
Listen, you're just jealous that I won, all right? You're just jealous that I won. Anyway, Ian Garry whooped Neil Magny. This was brutal.
Was this an A-star performance?
This was an A because of the context of the fight. Yeah,
good lord, Joe. I want to say one thing: 30-24.
All rounds of 10-8.
Well, that was one judge's scorecard. I mean, there was a question about a 10-7 in that last round. For me, actually, I will be honest, I gave it 30-26, with the last round being a 10-8.
Yeah, same for me. 30-26. I think that's fair, but it was just one-way traffic, and it was kind of like weirdly like undramatic one-way traffic in a way. Apart from that last round, like the first two rounds, he just won convincingly, bust up his legs, and in the third round, just absolutely mashed him on the ground. I think Garry was kind of working a character as well. You know, I don't know. It was kind of a bit like it's a bit too pro wrestling for my liking, and I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. It was just weird. It was just a weird overall fight. Magny didn't seem in it at all. Couldn't get anything going. Like I also
mean, he got surgically taken apart. He got absolutely, precision laser to the knee.
And also it was a young guy beating up an old guy. They looked their ages. Do you know what I mean? Like, Garry looked explosive and athletic, and Magny looked slow and ponderous for me.
Magny looked like Neil Magny, Joe. Like, he did. I think you got to put a bit more on Garry and the way you handle him. Like, Magny was trying to wrap up those awkward clinch exchanges. He was trying to implement his style, but Garry had exceptional movement and octagon awareness, exceptional.
Yes,
got out the back door every time, shook him off, matched him up in the clinch where he needed to. For me, it was
lovely body jab.
That also. I mean, it was like it broke him down, Joe. Increased the range of strikes, the freedom which you would throw slowly, up in boiling
moving up the body.
Sure.
Moving up the body. The kicks as well, moving up the body as well, throwing head kicks by the third round. That wonderful sort of like thrust kick that he threw, like where it was like, it looked like it could have been, he threw some obliques to the knees, then he threw some like sort of front kicks to the body, and then the last one just fully extending like the ball of the foot right into Magny's face, pushing him back up against the fence. And then once the foot dropped, immediately then engaged into like a 2-3 combo from there. Really just so good from Ian Garry. And then with the call out of Wonderboy Thompson, you're thinking, hell yeah. Turns out Wonderboy Thompson's not that bothered about fighting Ian Garry. Fair enough.
According to Dana, who apparently texted him the night of the fight, might be some propaganda involved. I would have thought that's a nice matchup for Wonderboy.
You think Wonderboy would beat Ian Garry in a striking contest?
I would want to see. I don't think that. I wouldn't. Couldn't reveal it, but I want to see it. I think the momentum behind Garry now with these last 2 wins against ranked opponents, you're probably looking at Garry to beat Wonderboy. But I more meant, like, surely that's the kind of matchup Wonderboy should be looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's not wrestle heavy. I mean, he's turned down wrestlers in the recent past. Although he apparently wants the Kamaru Usman fight because he thinks that's the biggest one going, and I think that's fair enough. He doesn't want to be fodder for some young gun. I get that. However, if you want to be a contender, you might have to fight these guys. Like, well, what's Wonderboy's plan? What, become the champion and then that's it? Like, I don't know. It's
retire, isn't it? Win the belt and retire. That's the dream exit from the sport for Wonderboy.
I guess so, but that's not going to happen.
Like, take out some absolute darling of the UFC on his way out, pick him apart, and then retire. I'm sure Wonderboy would love that especially after these last shenanigans. I mean, there are other matchups for Garry if that is the case that Wonderboy won't fight him.
Sean Brady.
Garry, he should answer the wrestler test. It sounds a bit anticlimactic, with the place that he's in at the sport right now.
Yeah, but you want to be able to move past these guys. Like if he faces Sean Brady and just whoops him, like completely whoops him.
But let me just highlight one thing to you here, Joe. Ian Garry, right? He's 25.
Yeah.
All right. His wife is 40, but he's only 25. And he's got to fight on his own timeline. He has. All right. And 40. That wasn't an exaggeration.
Yeah.
just
you went on her Tapology page there to check. Yeah.
Why does he need to be kind of not railroaded, but blasted towards the top of the division? Why does he need to take Sean Brady's ranking right now? Why does he need to fight a fight like that? I feel like he's getting the kind of following, he's getting the kind of highlight reel to really headline, actually.
Well, I think that's the plan, isn't it? Because Dana said Madison Square Garden, November, and then Ireland after that, which would be superb. If some guys can put some wins together then, though, who would you be looking at for him? It was Kevin Holland, maybe? Could be an interesting one.
Yeah. I mean, Luke Kay, if he didn't have that traumatic injury,
he's a partner. He's a teammate of Luke Kay, so right, I doubt that's going to happen.
Well, there's still Jeff Neal.
Yes, which I think is a really good one. That's a really, really.
I mean, Burns.
Yeah, Burns would be good.
These are the kind of profile.
No, Burns is a teammate as well. Burns was in his corner. That's the problem with this division. There's about 4. I think Shavkat, Burns, Luke and
Colby.
Oh,
doesn't that sound fun?
It does.
You say Sean Brady.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whatever.
Come on. Yeah, Colby Covington. That'd be something.
Oh yeah. Once Colby loses to Leon, is that what you're saying?
Surely that fight can't happen.
They're making it. They're so desperate to make it.
It's just disgusting that can happen.
I mean, it did make me laugh when you saw welterweight win streaks, and Leon's got 13, Bilal's second with 10, and then Ian Garry's third with 5, and it's just wow, these guys. It's 10 wins in a row, and no one's talking about Bilal Muhammad for a title fight. I know you don't want to, but let's be real, bruv. He should be getting the title shot next, yeah.
I mean, he's already been beaten by Edwards once in my eyes, but yeah, sure.
And in Bilal's eyes, huh? See what I did there? Anyway, I mean, I know what you mean. You want the tantalizing prospects for Garry. Maybe Jack Della could be a good one as well. I know that. I mean, he's got Kevin Holland's Jack Della in a couple weeks. So, yeah, I'd be down for that. The winner of that, maybe, to face Garry at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. I'm not too sure what's next for Garry, to be honest. I don't think there's a clear one apart from Wonderboy.
It should be Wonderboy.
It should be Wonderboy, but it's not going to be. Right. What was before? Was that to be? Oh, Mario Batista.
Blackshear. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, this fight also happened on the card. Yeah. Ramon Blackshear, Mario Bautista.
How do you score this?
It was a bit strange one to have on the main card, so I don't blame you for not remembering. I certainly didn't score it at 30-27 Bautista. First round has to be a Blackshear round.
Yep.
I got to say my intrigue tailed off a little bit. I didn't study.
Were you skipping forward on that Daily Motion video?
I didn't get. I mean, I watched official UFC content, but I watched. Of course, I watched, but I didn't watch with a lot of intent because it was very close. I thought probably Blackshear did enough in the second, and Bautista won the third.
Same.
But second was close.
I mean, it was a weird fight because it didn't feel like a bantamweight showcase. Because they've had 3 bantamweight fights on this card, and it was just like, you're not having Umar Nurmagomedov on this. You're not going to have, I know it was supposed to be Song Yadong and Rob Font originally, which would have been a much better fight. But was there not a better matchup you could make? Is Chris Gutierrez not around? Could you not stick him in there with someone?
Joe, you could put Brad Katona, Cody Gibson, bantamweights coming in.
Yes,
decide the Ultimate Fighter. Put that on the main card. And I think they showed it, but we'll get to that after. Anything else you want to add to this Blackshear Bautista matchup? I mean, Blackshear, he is a bit of a problem. He's quite a strong wrestler, big for the division. Like a B grade Aljamain without the funky.
I mean, I know that
strikes.
Bautista was supposed to be facing Cody Garbrandt before, which again would have made a bit more sense for the main card. Would have been a good win for Bautista to get that on a main card if they're trying to build this guy, or to build Garbrandt back up. Yeah, just a bit of a weird one. I'm glad they did put Weidman Tavares in this slot because that was we'll get to that as well. Yeah, can we just move on? I want to talk about Marlon Vera, Pedro Munhoz.
Yeah.
Just a weird fight again for me. Like, again, it was a
Chito Vera fight is what it was.
Yeah, it was. They were trading tit for tat in there. Munhoz was landing some lovely leg kicks.
I want to go round by round on this.
Let's go round by round. So, Tom, what was your main takeaway from round 1 of this fight?
Well, I can say the same for both rounds 1 and 2, and you'll have to highlight the differences as you saw them. But for me, Munhoz was of course much more active, but kind of struggling to stand in the pocket where he wants to because he getting cracked with a hard jab to the nose.
Yeah,
and those hard jabs to the nose were the standout moments of both round 1 and 2 for me. So it's a question of how you score both of them because Munhoz got more off. He got more off. You can't deny that.
Yeah, but that's every Marlon Vera fight.
It is, and I don't think Munhoz really could implement the game that he wanted to. Of course, he was landing those low kicks, but were they really paying that much of a dividend?
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, Vera's movement wasn't really compromised. His game plan seemed to be pretty much the same, which was roll with defense, throw the jab out there, throw a 1-2 out there as well. Double jab. It was sort of landing there. It was. I didn't think Vera had to really fight with much intensity in this. He landed. The jab was lovely. He does have a very strange boxy stance. I mean, he's very square. And he sort of like just rocks his shoulders back and forth with his punches. So he kind of almost like shifts stances as he's sort of throwing. It's kind of an odd little stance that he has. His feet are kind of close together. Kind of like, obviously not to the same quality, but like an Alex Pereira type. Do you know what I mean? Where it's kind of square on. His feet are kind of like close to the same sort of line.
But he doesn't walk. Yeah, I can see what you're getting at there. Yeah. But he doesn't walk you down in the way that Pereira does. He doesn't mind you coming onto him. He doesn't apply that pressure, which is a problem for him. It is a problem because you can lose rounds like that.
Yeah.
Now, did he lose round 1?
Yes, he did.
I gave him round 1.
Okay. For me,
because the jab it was pausing Munhoz, and you look at the end of that round. All right, Munhoz's nose is busted up, and he's back. He's getting treatment. He's getting the coagulant stuffed into his nose. He's getting cleaned up, and Vera's just on the other side like a serial killer.
Yeah, but
without a mark on his face.
He's always like that.
He is, and normally, that doesn't do it for me, and you get fights like the Sandhagen one. But there was no visible damage. He didn't respond to any of Munhoz's attacks, and almost matched him up for strikes. So
yeah, his pain threshold seems to be disgustingly high. Like he doesn't flinch. It's like when you saw Magny against Garry, and he was like wincing openly. You never see Vera wincing. You never see him.
He was also getting leg kicked as Vera was getting leg kicked and getting his whole world turned upside down repeatedly. Vera ate every leg kick, didn't really get much of a tell from him on a reaction. I gave him round 1, Joe, and I gave him round 2, and you're damn sure I gave him round 3. I gave it 30-27 Marlon Vera.
That's fair. 29-28 Vera for me. It was pretty much continued. It was kind of really frustrating. I mean, I guess Vera's just like, well, I'm just jabbing him to death and it's winning me this fight, which is fair enough.
In the third round, he accelerated away from Munhoz there.
He did, yes, but I just felt
it was
like
that cumulative damage.
Yeah, of course. I just felt like he could have done so much more to like put a real capper on that fight and even tried to get the finish, but he just sort of like cruised. I thought I didn't think that he really had to pull away that much, and really maybe it was more Munhoz dropping off than Vera like accelerating away. Obviously he's dropping off because of the damage he's taken from Vera.
Exactly.
But like I didn't feel like Vera was just like, burying him 6 feet under, which is what he should have been doing in that third round. Like when he was getting into that third round, I'm like, man, Vera should absolutely just waltz away from him now. And he just sort of like skipped. He's gently skipped away.
I think that's Marlon Vera's version of burying you, Like unless just he hits
out of reach.
The freakish, pot shot knockout against some old vet. We talked about it before the fight. You don't put Munhoz away, not with one shot.
No.
And he again, much like the Garry fight, but to a lesser extent, of course, he built that pressure and he started striding away from it. If there was a fourth round, the chance of Munhoz getting finished would be that bit higher. By the fifth round, Munhoz would be an absolute wreck. So, I'm not going to say it was a good performance, but I'm normally pretty quick to criticise Marlon Vera, and whilst he could have lost this fight, I wouldn't have been outrageous for it to be 29-28 Munhoz. Ultimately, he did win comfortably if you account for that third round and how big the distance was by then.
That's fair point. And do you want to know something, Tom? Do you know who else won comfortably this weekend? Me. I won comfortably this weekend. I got every fighter correct. I didn't get all the methods correct. Listeners, 8 points for your boy here. Now let's go through them. Marlon Vera, 2 points. Bautista, 2 points. Ian Garry, 1 point for me. Zhang Weili, another 1 point for me.
Hold on. I want to raise an exception here. You called a Marlon Vera
decision
knockout of a Pedro Munhoz.
I got my notes here. Yeah, I got it here. Marlon Vera decision. There's my notes right there.
They've been doctored. I want an official.
No, we can go back to the audio. I called a Vera
disqualification.
I was never going to pick Vera to knock out Munhoz.
Juve, fixing it back in 2007. You've been relegated,
Bruv,
Joe.
8 points,
and I retain the belt.
No, that's not true. 8 points. Got every winner correct. No, didn't get
I doff my cap, especially with the O'Malley pick. Yeah,
and the analysis. Smash that, lads. That analysis was... Mwah! Give me a good main event and I'll give you that sort of analysis, yeah? Now, Tom, you're in trouble because these next couple cards, I ain't losing that. And it's going to come down to that December one. So you're going to be scrambling by then, brother. You're going to be praying that Marlon Vera wins that main event. Which, to be honest, he probably could bore his way into a title win, which would just be a horrendous timeline to be living in, wouldn't it? Now, Tom, let's talk about this fight. Chris Weidman loses to Brad Tavares. Kind of a frustrating fight in the same way the Magny-Garry one was for me. It's just like, you got a one-legged man and you can't finish him. I was a bit like, come on, man. Like, you got to be able to put this dude away. Chris Weidman, he looked like he was from a different era in this fight, didn't he? And
he truly is, Joe. He's a 40-year-old. It's over for him, and he wonders why he's on the prelims, and he was shown why by Brad Tavares.
40-year-old wrestle boxer is not a good look.
No, it's really not. I don't know how much more I've got to add than that. I'm not going to criticise Tavares because he's a vet, himself. He might find himself in similar grounds, as you alluded to in your preview. But of course, he's got enough, Joe. He's got enough to sit in that top 15, top 20 space.
I'll give Tavares credit. He has kind of adapted. Like, he didn't look like he was, from a different era. Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, Weidman gave me a bit of Diego Sanchez vibes. Where it's just like, I remember when you used to do this really well. Remember when Diego Sanchez would just be like a ball of fury and he would just be like a wrecking ball going at people? Remember when Chris Weidman would just wrestle people to death and just like ground and pound and just make life awful for them, get his top of his head in their chin and just rub it all up in them and just making it horrible. And then I saw this where he could barely get down for a single leg, and I'm like, man, Chris, Dana said it, he should retire.
Can I hit you with what might be a controversial perspective?
Go on.
I'm not sure Chris Weidman beats Tavares at both of their peaks.
Oh,
I'm not convinced of that. I think it's a more even fight, but I don't score that clearly for Weidman.
Wow! Is this now we're going to start shitting on the legacy of Chris Weidman as middleweight champion, the clear number 3 in the UFC's history? Put on one of the best displays against Anderson Silva in that first fight, was absolutely tremendous against him.
Anderson lost that fight.
Chris Weidman won that fight, brother. Anderson was getting frustrated. He was doing all that, jiving in that cage, all that dancing around because he was getting frustrated. He was trying to draw something out of Weidman. That was a great performance from Weidman in that fight.
I will confess, if you beat Lyoto Machida, then I have a...
And Damian Maia, come on, son.
Yeah. No, I mean, sure. But Tavares, 5 years ago. I don't know. You got to go further back with Weidman, of course. 10 years ago.
Yeah. Can I throw this out here, Tom? I think the UFC should do... Remember when they brought Crocop back for one more fight and he fought Gonzaga for a second time?
Are we talking about Weidman versus
yes,
the pretty boy himself?
Yes!
The man he lost to after that kick?
Yes! Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Bring back Rockhold for one more fight. Main event.
Oh,
main
Lord.
event.
Main event of a fight night, of course.
Main event. Put it at altitude. Yeah.
Mike Perry co-main.
Yeah. I want
rematch.
Yeah. Do it in Bolivia. I want it at altitude, yeah. Put it in La Paz. I want those two gassed after 3 minutes. Like, bro, you don't want that
for
fight?
Nostalgia.
Come on, man. Double retirement?
I don't really want any Chris Weidman fights, but I do want Luke Rockhold fights.
Yes.
So, yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I still even think his one weird fight against Mike Perry. I'm like, man, I just like watching Rockhold, man. He's such a weird dude. Like, I enjoy his presence. I enjoy his aura. Because Weidman's so clean cut and he seems like such a nice guy. I'm sure he's got some weird Christian views that I don't want to know about, but like in the same way that I don't want to hear about from Wonderboy Thompson. Whereas Rockhold is just like, he's some weird deviant sexual freak. Whatever. We can get into those kinks another time.
I believe there was one more fight you wanted to highlight for us just before we wrap the pod up.
Bruv, you have to, if you have not seen the TUF 135 finale. Your pick, Brad Katona, came back and he won against some guy, I forgot his name, Cody Durden.
Cody Gibson.
Cody Gibson. And you know what, man? It had Bonner versus Griffin vibes. Just
Lord.
Dirty boxing, clinch uppercuts. Oh man, I was digging it. I was digging it big time. Like, this was some good old fun. Put their names out there. Brad Katona.
How did you score it?
2-1 Katona.
Right.
I've got to say now, get Katona in there. Get him against someone good. Give him Pedro Munhoz. Give him someone like that. Straight in there. I don't want any messing. Get this lad in there. Give him someone good. I like Brad Katona.
So
I like Brad Katona. Tom, is there anything else you want to talk about? No. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We well, one of us at least will be back at some point this week to talk about the Holloway versus Korean Zombie card happening this Saturday. On at UK time, by the way. Starts at 2 o'clock UK time. Here we go. Tom's interested now. So get on that. That's happening in Singapore. I guess they couldn't book South Korea for some weird reason. Well, that's my front door. Anyway, listeners, we'll be back shortly. Contact us at holdonbrothers69@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. We'll get back to you either in the comments or on the show. See you later. God bless.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.